Good morning. I'm Eric Lenask from TMC, and I'm excited to be kicking off today's webinar on global mobility trends that you really do need to plan for as a business. So first of all, thank you all for joining us this morning. I'm going to take a guess that a number of you are not likely sitting in your offices, but quite a few of you are elsewhere listening to us on various devices. And that's really just an example of what we're here to talk about today, that surge in mobility in today's business environment. It's also evidence of the idea that today's business is really about speed, and that's what's differentiating successful businesses from the rest of their markets. Speed to market, speed within the market, speed of reaction to the market, and that really means speed within their business communications environments. Really what we're in is an age of accelerated business processes and communications, and we've come to expect response from others almost instantly, if not faster, and likewise we're expected to respond in a similar fashion. That means we all need to be connected all the time, wherever we are and on whatever devices we've chosen. Why? Well, it's simple. Time is money. That's something that's never changed, and lost time means lost business opportunity. Now, the other constant is that there are only 24 hours in a day. You just can't add a 25th, try as you may. So what we're really left with is finding ways to increase our efficiency and our performance within the time frames that we have. And that means partially in today's mobile environments, being able to connect our resources, our devices, and our people. Now, the second major factor that we're going to talk about today it's creating a major stir in the communication space, is BYOD. For a number of different reasons, more and more businesses have come to adopt BYOD strategies in their environment, allowing employees to choose their own and use their own personal devices on their corporate networks and to access their corporate resources. Now, of course, it's largely a cost savings measure for some companies, and that is a huge benefit, but it can create significant management and security headaches for IT if it's not done properly. So there you really have three of the key concepts that our presenters today are going to be touching on, among others: BYOD, mobile security, and how to integrate mobility into your business process. To talk about these and some of the other key trends that they're seeing in the global business environment, and to help you understand how those trends are going to impact your business, we have with us two speakers from Vodafone. We have with us JJ Juan. He's the head of enterprise innovation at Vodafone Global Enterprise, and John Kimmitt, who is the global director of solutions sales. So before I hand today's session over to John, I want to provide a couple of notes about today's session. First of all, we've allowed for a Q&A session at the end of today's event. You all have an interface on your screens, and I encourage you to submit your questions to us at any time as they come up during today's presentations. Certainly don't want you to forget those questions at the end. Also, you'll all be getting follow-up emails after today's event that will include contact information if you want to follow up or if you have additional questions for the great folks at Vodafone. It'll also include information on how you can access the archived version of today's webinar if you want to go back and revisit some of the information from today, or certainly if you want to pass it along to some of your colleagues who may not have been able to join us for today's live event. And finally, we do have a couple of poll questions within today's presentation, and on behalf of Vodafone, I want to just thank you in advance for taking a few moments to respond to those questions and to help make today's session a little more interactive, and to help JJ and John tailor their presentation to you, our audience today. And actually, speaking of, let's jump. That leads me to our first poll question, in fact. Are you planning, I mentioned BYOD, are you planning to implement a bring your own device program within your business? You already have one in place? You're planning one in 6 months? You're planning to implement in 12 months or 18 months? Or you recognize that the need exists, but you're not sure of where to start? I think for today's session, are fantastic questions, and I certainly look forward to seeing responses. John, while we wait for our audience members to take a moment to respond, I don't really think, from where I sit and from what I've understood, businesses don't really have a choice. BYOD is happening, and it's really a question of how they're going to approach it, isn't it?
Yeah, thanks, Eric. I certainly would agree with that. BYOD and the wider consumerization trend certainly is one that's evolving, not only in the Americas, but also rolling out globally as well. And we're starting to see some really unique trends. But businesses do have a choice in terms of how they manage and enable their workforces, and that's what we'll be talking a bit more today about, is in terms of the trends, the things to consider, and understand how BYOD can actually be an enabler, not an inhibitor, for success and growth in business.
Great. Thanks, John. I'm going to give a couple more seconds here, and then let's take a look at where our audience stands with regard to BYOD. All right, we should be seeing these now. So you're looking at a little over a third already have a BYOD program in place. Does that surprise you?
Yeah, I mean, Eric, from my perspective, I think what's unique is that a third already have it in place. But if you look at it, there's another third that really is planning to do something with it in the next 6 to 12 months. So that shows that not only is the trend out there and people are taking advantage of it, but also that over 2/3 of the audience, if we're sitting here 12 months from now, will have a BYOD program in place. So I think that's certainly a positive trend from the perspective that it's not something that's going to go away, but there's a number of areas and elements to consider in order to make it a successful program.
Great, and I think that, John, that leads us right into what we're here to talk about. So I'll let you take it away.
Yep, thanks, Eric. So in terms of what I'm going to cover, and I'm joined here by my colleague Juan Jose Juan, who we refer to as JJ, and what we'll be going through today is really 5 main areas built around market overview, trends, challenges, along with some customer examples, and then I'll hand it over to JJ to talk about innovation and business transformation. In terms of the trends that we're seeing in the workplace, as you'll see this slide build out across your screens, there's really 5 key trends we're seeing impact the telecom landscape, and certainly for most organizations that are taking place in this particular webinar, these are trends that you're very much seeing. I'll talk about a few because I think that they really tie into the overall consumerization, which is a very big trend. If you look at flexible working and collaboration, which is really our workforces becoming more flexible and individuals wanting to take advantage of and consume information on the devices they want, where they are, and when they want to. That's really leading companies to want to make and implement cloud-based architecture so that those individuals can not only consume that information, but they can do it on the devices they want and take access to that information in a secure manner. In addition to that, businesses are looking for ways in which they can implement these processes, these programs, and access to their systems in an agile way so that they can innovate the way in which their business models change over time, and in addition, they can extract additional value from their consumers and from their workforce. And then the last trend that we'll speak about is around globalization, and what's happening with globalization is 2 things. If you look at by 2020, McKinsey has forecasted that 50% of the GDP is going to become from what is today developing economies. So what does that mean for businesses? They have to ensure that they put programs in place that not only adapt to the developed economies, but also work for those developing economies as well in those high growth regions. And over the next 3 years, the era of ubiquitous telecom convergence is going to continue. We've seen this rapid transformation that's happened not only in our industry and the innovation around it that JJ will speak about, but we're seeing it happen in a very rapid fashion. And if you look at what that means for you, these are some of the key areas that we're seeing in the flexible work style is really the convergence is in the future. And what does that mean? What it means for you, if you look at the machine-to-machine type deployments, these high-speed and zero-speed networks, so your users, your consumers taking advantage of this information and access to it, and really making sure that they can be connected from any location, anytime. In addition to that, we're seeing users take advantage of multiple devices. So the old standard of having a mobile phone and an email device and a data card is actually going beyond that, where the average worker now has anywhere between 2.5 and 3.5 devices, depending on where you look at in the world. And what that means is they're taking advantage of consuming more information, but it also presents some security challenges if you're not implementing the programs correctly. The devices are becoming smarter and faster. So the smartphone of today was the computer of the 90s in terms of processing power, memory, etc. And then users' demands are actually becoming higher as well. And what that means for businesses is that you have an intelligent workforce who is going to want to come into your organization, or who is already present in your organization, who's going to be looking for integrated messaging services and also looking for their identities to be converged over time so that they get access to intelligent, rich information, and they don't have to go searching for it. It's automatically pushed to them, the content's synchronized, and it's done in a manner that allows them to take access and take action on that information in a quick and relevant manner. The other piece is that mobility is becoming the core of remote working, along with making and taking advantage of machine-to-machine type deployments. And as we look at the four different trends that are really kind of harnessing these in, we're seeing that not only will the future workplace have mobility at the core, but in addition to that, the average length of a mobile phone call has halved since 2007. And what does that mean? It means users are not only consuming more information, but they're doing it in different ways. And they're doing it through email, they're doing it through text messaging, and they're doing it through convergence and collaboration outside of talking to individuals. So the data usage is very much on the rise and will continue to increase, as will flexible working and making sure that you're connected anywhere with a seamless user experience. So those are the key industry trends. I want to now shift and just give you a quick overview of and a bit of a history lesson on Vodafone Global Enterprise, and then we'll go in and talk about some real customer examples. So Vodafone was an organization that was launched, and our heritage and roots go back to 1985, when we completed our first mobile phone call in the UK on the UK network. We then, over the next 10 years up to 1995, grew quite rapidly, growing from no customers to 3 million and expanding into 12 countries. And we did that mainly through acquisition and also through building out of new mobility networks. And if you look at what happened between 95 and 2000, we made and became the largest mobile company in the world, growing to 66 million customers and adding an additional 10 countries to the already 15 that we operated in. And that rapid growth continued through 2005, so we grew from 66 million customers to 171 million, and continued to grow our footprint both through equity countries as well as the launch of our partnership markets, which is a model where organizations can take advantage of the Vodafone assets through becoming a member in our partner program. And that really brings us to kind of where we're at today. So Vodafone today operates directly, and we have equity interests in over 30 countries, and we have and we operate further through our partner markets in 50 additional countries. So it gives our customers access to quite an expansive portfolio, both from a products and services perspective, but also from a geographic perspective. So that's Vodafone Group, who Vodafone Global Enterprise is very much a part of. And if you look at the number of customers we have 406 million proportionate customers around the world. Now, how does that relate to Vodafone Global Enterprise? Vodafone Global Enterprise was created in 2006 really to service our multinational customers. So today we look after over 1,400 customers, but we started off very, very small to make sure that we could work with our customers and offer them additional value above and beyond what they could get just dealing with us on a country-by-country basis. And the reason we did that is the feedback from our customers was that there were too many points of contact, that each individual country had a single contract, so there wasn't any unified services available. The costs that they were getting in the countries were unpredictable, and they couldn't manage those. And in addition, the consistency of the products and services for large multinational customers didn't allow them to take advantage of the same service in the UK, in Germany, in Ireland, Spain, Portugal, etc. So we created this single business unit, which now manages those 1,400 customers, and we have individuals in over 50 countries managing these customers. What's unique about the organizations which we look after is, if you look at the revenue in which they generate, it's over $10 trillion in revenue that they generate. In terms of how we operate, we have and we put in place an account structure that allows us to have a single global account team along with local and regional contacts. We have the pricing and contracting authority, and then we also have the support infrastructure and the consistent products and services that go along with that. So you, as a Vodafone Global Enterprise customer, get individuals who know your account, have accountability, and also speak the languages and offer you quite a unique experience on a global basis. In terms of the challenges that our customers are facing, there's really 5 key areas in which we see our customers facing challenges. So we do see, as we talked about a little bit earlier, we see that customers are becoming increasingly mobile and that they have a globally disparate workforce. And what that creates is it creates complexity, but it also creates quite a lot of opportunity. And it creates opportunities to ensure that you can roll out and take advantage of products and services across countries, and at the same time get the visibility and cost control in place to make sure that you can enable your workforce. In addition to that, consumerization and bring your own device, or as we're seeing in some parts of the world, choose your own device, creates, in some instances, opportunities for customers for cost savings, for innovation, for business transformation, and at the other same time can create headaches from an IT, security, legal, and HR compliance perspective. So making sure that you understand what those local rules, regulations are, and taking advantage of how we've helped and enabled other customers is quite a unique experience and a service that we offer. And in addition to that, is business efficiency and optimization is becoming very important to our customers. So the growing trend that we're seeing of customers moving from CapEx to OpEx and wanting to take advantage and consume services in a much more per seat, per user basis is very much a growing trend that we're helping work with customers on. So in the next part, I just want to walk you through some of the things that we've done and how we've organized ourselves from a service and marketing portfolio perspective to allow our customers to take advantage of and help solve a lot of the problems that they're facing to their challenges. So if you look at what Vodafone has worked to do, we've come up and we've really put together 6 key propositions and taking these to market in order to help our customers solve their current challenges and also meet the needs of their users. And these 3 propositions at the top there, you'll see that the categories are around personal productivity, business management, and business growth. And what we've done is we've created 6 propositions underneath that, allowing our customers to work on any device, work the way they want, but also help them manage and operate in a global, local, and regional basis. And in addition to that, really helping them operate effectively, optimize their portfolio of products and services that their end users are consuming today, plan for the future, and ultimately keep them ahead of the game by innovating and driving business transformation for them. And these specific propositions really help our customers turn challenges into opportunities. And I'll talk a bit more about that now in terms of the portfolio of products and services that we work with our customers on. So if you look across the 4 main categories here, we really work with our customers in helping take them on a journey around connectivity consolidation. So that's consolidating their providers, doing rationalization and optimization of those, really help them drive cost savings, which certainly in this current environment is quite important. In addition to that, we're not only delivering connectivity to those customers, we're really helping them from an operational perspective and getting cost visibility and control. And what that entails is actually giving them visibility around what their users are spending, what the consumption profiles look like, and where there's added or wasted cost that could be driven out of the business in that rationalization exercise. So really helping them get access to their inventories, get visibility into it, and then providing them with reporting and even optimizing it for those customers in the event that they don't have the resources to do that. And as we take the customer on that journey, the next two areas are really the ones where you drive maximum value in terms of the operational efficiencies. So this is around driving productivity and security. So helping our customers roll out tablets, roll out mobile device management and security, and then in addition to that, helping them plan how their users are going to consume those services, how the help desk support is going to be handled, and then how and what tariffs or rate plans those users need to have in order to make sure that they're effectively and efficiently taking advantage and consuming those products and services. And then really the last part is about how we work with customers on business transformation. And this consists around machine to machine, so actually embedding connectivity into their devices to either extract additional information out of those devices, which they can then turn that data into business value, or in addition to that, helping them create opportunities for cost savings through automation and transformation. So the next part we're going to move to is talk about the partner of choice, and then we'll go to a poll question. So just to summarize here, in terms of just to summarize on the communications partner of choice, we're the recognized market leader in a number of different areas, including telecoms management. We've got a suite of cloud-based services, and in addition to that, we're creating the world's leading commercial models for the largest organizations in the world, and we have a footprint that provides a consistent end-user experience along with world-class unified communications consulting capabilities. So we have very much the needs met of customers today, and we continue to meet the growing needs of our customers here in the future. So Eric, I'll turn it back over to you for the next poll question, and then we'll talk about how we're actually impacting customers today.
Great, John. Thank you very much. Right, as John mentioned, we're up to our next poll. So there we go. John mentioned the need to manage mobile devices when you're putting in a BYOD strategy. So, we already found out that a little over a third of you have a BYOD strategy in place, and another third are looking to implement one within the next year and a half. So, in addition to that, where are you with regarding a mobile device management or MDM solution, especially as it applies to security of those mobile elements? Do you already have one in place? Are you trialing one currently? Are you planning one in 6 months, or in 12 months, or in 18 months? Hopefully we're not looking any further out, since all of you who are planning on implementing BYOD are planning on doing that within 18 months. John, one of the things that I found is that there's a lot of conflict or a lot of question and debate over what really does mobile device management mean, and that seems to me to be part of the reason why some folks haven't implemented or at least started trialing an MDM solution as soon as they otherwise might have.
Yeah, no, that's a great question, Eric, and I think it's really centered around the approach in which organizations take. What we're finding and seeing from our customers is really the essence of rolling out BYOD. For every customer that's had a successful rollout, we've seen that not only is MDM an important component of that, but it really allows them to roll it out efficiently. It ensures that they're covered from an HR and compliance perspective. It also ensures that their users can take advantage and get quick access to internally developed applications and do it in a secure manner, whether it's a corporate-owned device or a particular device that the user is brought in themselves in a BYOD type of environment. So I believe the two are very much linked together. What we've found that's been quite unique, though, is we've had organizations that, start up front, do the proper planning and implementation, and what they're able to do is have a more effective overall rollout of the BYOD and ongoing management of that BYOD program because of their MDM deployment.
Got it. Thanks, John. So we're looking at over half of our audience has some kind of an MDM solution already in place, and another almost 18% trialing one.
Wow, that's quite a significant amount. It's actually very consistent with what we're seeing in the marketplace. And I think if you were to look at this, and we'll go through some of the customer examples here where we've been helping organizations on this. This is really a relatively new marketplace in terms of widespread adoption, and really driven by the emergence of the multitude of operating systems that are now available in the marketplace, and the consumer choice that's being driven by the emergence of these multiple operating systems and device form factors. So, Eric, if we could go to the next slide here. What I'd like to do is actually take 3 different customer examples and really talk through how we've helped customers across the Vodafone Global Enterprise family in terms of helping them in their particular solutions. So there are 3 customers here. The first customer example I want to take through was a U.S. headquartered customer that actually we work with quite closely, and they have operations in more than 40 countries and 18,000 employees. And this particular customer was really looking to consolidate the number of vendors and at the same time get visibility into what they were spending, both across their fixed and their mobile estate. So we worked with this customer as part of their internal process. We put together a program consisting of not only the vendor consolidation element, but also a program management office that ensured that they had the governance, the visibility, and the resources to actually not only complete the project, but also make sure that they completed it on time and across the various countries. The net benefit that this particular customer saw in terms of the consolidation savings was they saved 31% across their footprint, so just across these 13 countries, really driven around reducing the duplication of sourcing, invoicing, help desk, and then also helping them on the connectivity side of things. In addition, now that this customer has consolidated their vendors and has their access and their minutes and megabytes, if you will, down to a single vendor, we're now working with that customer to go beyond the connectivity layer and really working with them around unified communications, and also helping them take this same approach that they were successful in Europe and apply it into other parts of the world as well. The next customer example we'll talk about is one where we actually took and the customer had quite a unique business challenge that they were looking for us to help them use our mobility network in order to better augment and provide better value to their end users. And so what we're able to do is actually anonymize our information at a country level for this particular customer, and actually provide that as an input into their product that they were offering to customers, and actually allow them to create a value-added service for their end users that provides better traffic information and provides them with a single SIM that they can use across multiple markets in order to provide their end user consistency and simplicity. The benefit that they saw was not only increased revenues because they were adding value-added and premium services to their existing product, but in addition to that, they've been able to reduce carbon emissions because in the business for the business fleets and the business trucks, they're actually able to avoid the traffic jams and be more efficient in getting from point A to point B. And then the last one is really an example of a topic we were just talking about with regards to mobile device management. And we've worked quite closely with this customer who has over 40,000 individuals in the pharmaceutical sector spread across 24 countries. And we worked not only with this customer to help them create and design their IT security policies, but in addition to that, we've stood up a hosted instance of their device management solution, and we've worked with that customer not only to deploy it, but we're actually managing the infrastructure end-to-end for them. And in addition to that, working with them on rolling out their mobile application store and also doing the policy management as part of that as well. So they have different users who are taking advantage of different applications. In addition, we provide the remote lock and wipe services for them, and we provide that to them across those users and the countries who are currently today using two of the primary operating systems that many of you would be using across the world. In addition to that, we're providing them the next wave of services on their tablet devices, and then looking at at enhancing the service level agreements that we give to them as well, so that they can be more committed to their end users and really provide a world-class service to their internal organizations. So those are some of the customer examples. Certainly would be happy to take any questions on that here at the end, but I'm delighted now to turn it over to Juan Jose Juan, who's going to talk to us a bit about innovation. JJ, over to you.
Thanks, John, and hi everyone who are in the call. Folks, you can call me JJ. Let's simplify the whole name. Just to prove how global we are all becoming and how the world of communication is becoming. I'm sitting now in the darkness in the UK, just outside of London, where Vodafone was initially created, and we still have some of our central offices for Europe. But usually I'm based in the West Coast, in the Bay Area, in San Francisco, where we have our global innovation center, where things are happening faster than in other parts of the world. So just as an example of how everything is going faster and global by definition. So John has taken us through a few examples of how global solutions can really simplify the challenges and the speed with which everything is changing in any business. And again, all of you in the call are facing very similar challenges. My role is looking ahead, looking farther into the future, and working with customers like yourself who are in the call in trying to understand what are the key challenges that the future is going to bring, and trying to anticipate those and bring opportunities of business transformation. It's what we call enterprise innovation, and it's basically about business change and business opportunities using technology wherever it comes from. So just let me show you that by definition it's global, because as you have seen from the maps that John was sharing, we have presence directly in a very good number of countries, approximately 70 countries. But the fact is global companies are wherever they want to be. So that map and that footprint is kind of irrelevant. We're talking with big global companies, and we need to adapt to wherever customers are. And so we are very flexible in that model, and we need to find ways to simplify and anticipate the change that customers are facing wherever they are around the world. To do that, what we have done is we set up a global team and a number of global centers. I just talked about here in the UK and in the West Coast, in the Bay Area. We have some locations in the East Coast. We have locations across Africa and Asia. And those are the different locations where we are constantly exploring with customers what the future looks like. The future, we're talking about a close enough future that we can act on it. So for example, 3 years from now, what would be the key challenges and key opportunities that your business is going to face in 3 years from now? And there is a key word that is coming all around, and it's mobility. And mobility is not about technology. Mobility is a new style of doing work and of doing life. And the whole concepts of consumerization, BYOD, machine-to-machine, mobile marketing, analytics, all those elements go around the same concept. We are all constantly in mobility, and our business is being done more and more in mobility. So I'm going to share with you over the next 8 minutes so a few examples in what kind of transformation is already starting to happen in different companies, in different industries, in different parts of the world, and how the transformation is really changing how they do business. So let me just take you to those steps. The first one is there is a big concept that is just raising from everywhere, which is choice. When you look into employees, and the whole BYOD is a good example of that, what it's raising, in fact, is not only about the device. It's not only about applications. It's not only about services or computers. It's the whole concept that employees are expecting choice. Employees want to have choice, And companies who are finding a way to balance the company priorities with the employee priorities are going in the right direction, and we have seen and participated with some good examples of creating those balances. Some other companies who are trying to stop things happen are struggling and are going to struggle even more. Okay? So as you can see in this slide, it's not only about the devices, it's not only about the applications, it's even about the fundamentals behind it. The whole balance between who pays for what. In the US, it's very common to have the employee paid models in which an employee chooses and pays for their own connections. If you have offices in Europe or you work with European companies, here it's completely the opposite. Here, typically, a company pays for the connections and provides it to the employees, creating a balance in which a mix of both worlds can be created, creating a number of options in which the employee can bring their own services or devices, or an employee can choose their own services. So I don't think we're going to reach a point of BYOD being dominating everywhere. It's going to be a balance between BYO and CYO across devices, applications, services, and even connections. So that's one of the big transformations that is happening out there. And companies are creating employee policies, and HR directors are being involved, and that's where the success stories are coming from, as John was already describing. The other concept that we have already worked with as a bit of a revolution into this is the whole complexity of, for example, a company across more than 100 countries and let's say 100,000 employees with mobile services, fixed services, and everything behind that is just intimidating, to call it in a certain way. It's just the amount of information and systems and websites and logins and statistics that need to be managed to get a feel of what's going on is just too much. So one of the things we started to do already with companies and customers at a global level is oversimplify that. This example you see in the screen is a real example of how a global company across more than 100 countries is managing communications today. So their CIO, their marketing director, their team leaders, any different functions across the global company have an access to this application. It's a real application developed, in this case, in an iPad, in which the core information about the total life cycle of the communications is summarized. So it's not just the savings, as you can see in this screen, but it's about the inventory, what services, what devices they have, how much they spend, how often come the invoices, how often the contracts are being renewed across different departments or different regions, different countries, and even connecting with technology and systems like John mentioned before, like device management, the inventory in real time of the devices, the security status of those devices, or the applications that have been installed into those devices. This is where we're seeing telecommunications moving into, as a service that needs to be abstracted and simplified for companies to be able to make use and enjoy as an enabler for their business. If a senior person in a company like your own companies have to spend more than 5 minutes trying to understand what's going on with their communications, something is fundamentally wrong. Okay, so this is where simplicity is one of the sources of transformation and even disruption, to call it that way, that we are seeing and we are driving. Another aspect that John mentioned is machine to machine. Machine to machine, again, is the concept that I can get my assets, I can get my systems connected all around the world, wherever they are. And we took a big step recently in Vodafone by creating a single technology, a single enabled platform that is able to manage connections and SIMs globally all around the world. It's a quite unique capability, and we're already seeing the implementation of very big projects. We're talking about real projects already implemented, over millions of connections, each one of them. We're in different industries, in consumer electronics, in automotive, and very different industries. That is going to evolve. It basically is going to go into a point in which everything can be connected. The technology will not be a limit, and in fact the cost is reaching a point in which is not going to be a limit, either the cost of the modules and the connectivity. The key question would be, how is your business going to change if everything can be connected? How will your business model transform into a real-time business? So that's the fundamental learning we are taking from this area. It's not just the technology. It's not about what technology and what SIMs are being used. It's important, but it becomes secondary. The first question is, how is your business model going to transform? I think companies like Amazon are excellent examples of how having online permanent access to shopping and use of books or any kind of media transforms completely your business. So there are applications into every single industry we can imagine. Let me move on and share another example which goes into the world of data. Everyone is so excited about big data. And being a bit Spanish here, I think big is not necessarily the best part of big data. Data is the real important thing. And in fact, I kind of prefer the concept of smart data. So we ourselves run a lot of big networks and sources of data across many different countries. And the question we were asking ourselves are, what would be the implications of being able to aggregate all that big data and apply the smart element to that? What kind of decisions could a company or an organization or even a city be able to take by applying those criteria? So this is just an example of the direction that this is taking. Just the information from the network and the towers across a city like London, which is the example I'm sharing here, would be able to provide real-time, rich information to manage the whole advertisement strategy across the whole city in real time, to manage things like the traffic management and the city being able to change the traffic lights and to change how police are being distributed across the city depending on the loads and the situations, and even shop by shop, business by business, being able to understand what kind of customers are going through the neighborhood, are going through the street, at what time of the day, with what kind of typologies. Again, this goes very quickly when we go into granularity into privacy, which is a very sensitive area. But taking even the numbers at the big numbers, how many people are in this neighborhood, already provides to the marketing part of the business very useful information. And it goes beyond marketing. It goes into utilities, it goes into managing airports, managing parkings, highways, a lot of real-time applications. As you can imagine, there are many different examples and projects that are already coming indoors. So indoors tracking and indoors analytics are already a big part of our ongoing projects with customers on transformation, which goes to the point of being able to understand and act in real time. The main difference of this one versus the previous one is in this one there is an interaction directly with the customers. And this is where the customers have to opt in, and again all the privacy aspect has to be taken care. But we have a lot of activity going on in the world of the social networks, and what this brings is a real-time source of information into these decisions and these activities. And just a final example to share is an example related with one that John was bringing today, which is the importance of real-time in all this data information. And this is a real example of a company that manages location services. It manages basically GPS services and GPS devices. And with that company, we already started working a few years ago to help them to transform themselves from being a device and maps provider into becoming a services provider. They wanted to be a company that provides services every single day to customers so they can move into a subscription-based model. The challenge they had is they wanted to provide real-time traffic information all across Europe, but there is not a good, reliable, single source information across Europe. Some countries like Germany have very good information from cameras and police. Some others like Spain, I can tell you, I come from there, there is not. You cannot trust the police in Spain to be the best source of information. They have some information but not others. Sitting together with them, we started to realize there was something that we were missing. Because we thought for many, many years, our networks know basically what is the load of each of the parts of the highway based on the number of phones in each car. If you think that there are one or two phones in each car, and you take the average speed of those phones, and then you will be able to make this kind of combination. The amount of traffic and the speed of the cars can be just extrapolated by the average speed of the phones in that road, in that highway, in every single part of Europe, for example. So this is where a new business was created. This is what I call business transformation, which applying information that was sitting in the network for, let's say, 25 years, and applying that information at a big level into the right time, in real time. A new service about real-time traffic management was possible for this company. And then they created a new section of the business and a new revenue source that is in the market already for a few years and doing very well. So this same example is what we're doing through the Enterprise Innovation Project that I head globally and works in combination with our current portfolio, basically creating together with customers what are the next generation of services and evolving those services into creating new areas of business and new big revenues into companies across any industries. So to close with just a summary, some of these examples that you can see in the screen just now, you can check them in our website. In the website I put in the screen, that's the access directly to our innovation section of the website. We have approximately 15 different examples of business transformations with companies across different parts of the world. Some of them are in India, some of them in Africa, some of them in Europe, and of course in the Americas, and in different industries. And the way we operate is by engaging directly with companies who are looking after transforming themselves and transforming their business, having an open conversation. We don't do selling in these innovation workshops that we're running. We do joint thinking, joint exploring, sharing examples, and then seeing if there is an opportunity for co-creation and transformation of the business, whatever your business is. And typically, those end up being sometimes common testing, common learnings, and new services go into the future, into the market when things go well. So that's where I'm going to stop and just pass the control to John for the next section.
Thanks for that, JJ. So I think at this point we've got a few questions which have come in. So Eric, do you want to go ahead and bring up the first few questions?
I will, John. First of all, thanks, John and JJ, for great presentation. Lots of fantastic information there. Yeah, we do. We've actually got some great questions, and certainly a reminder to those of you who haven't sent your questions in, do send them in. We're going to get to as many as we can during our live event. I do want to make sure everybody knows that any of the questions that come in will be archived, and anything that we don't have time for during the live event or anything that's really specific to your particular situation or your particular business that may take a little bit more time to answer, the folks at Vodafone will be happy to answer any of those additional questions offline following today's event. So let's get to a couple of these. So, John, you talked about, and we talked a little bit about and asked the audience about where they stand with mobile device management. In your experience, is there an issue with employees' willingness to have their personal devices managed by corporate IT?
Yeah, great question there, Eric. I think it is one of not only access and control, but if you look a bit beyond the employee itself and start to look at cultures, there's certain rules and regulations in various cultures where, if you look at rolling out BYOD or rolling out even mobile device management in specific parts of the world, you need to really understand what the regulatory and also what the local workers' councils, et cetera, what those impacts are going to be on the program rollout. So certainly different cultures vary in terms, some cultures are quite open to it, and we've worked with customers who have been successful in rolling these programs out across multiple regions and doing it globally. However, the actual employee and the degree to which they allow and want to allow organizations to access that opinion does vary quite widely. I think from an organizational perspective, what we've found is very much engaging HR, engaging legal early in the process as you're designing and rolling out your overall program is a critical element in order to make sure you have a successful program rollout. And I know we'll share the white paper here at the end. But we worked quite closely with IDC in putting together an overview of consumerization and the various approaches around BYOD. And I think what you'll find in that white paper is it will talk about a number of the different elements you need to consider and the stakeholders within the business that you need to pull in looking at how you're going to take consumerization and make it a good thing for your organization versus allowing consumerization to be a great thing for employees, but an absolute nightmare for your company.
Thanks, John. And you got a little bit into this next question, but maybe a little more detail. First, there's another term that I think is very closely related to MDM, and that's telecom expense management, or TEM. So, what's the relationship between MDM and telecom expense management, and a little bit more about how Vodafone is working to integrate those two types of solutions for its enterprise customers?
Yeah, so very much the two services are very much interrelated, and in order to extract the maximum value out of deploying both, the interrelation or the interconnectivity between the two needs to be there, and that's something that we are very much actively working on, and actually have it with a couple of clients at the moment. What's quite unique about it is telecoms expense management and Vodafone's role in that. We saw this about 5 years ago. We saw this as a really important ingredient in a total communications approach for organizations to help them get visibility, understanding, and allow them to actually get control of their telecom estate. And so we went out to the market and surveyed, and we actually made an acquisition of two players in 2009, one being QuickCom, who provides the software element of our telecoms expense management, and the second being T&T Expense Management, who had an enormous amount of managed and professional services around telecoms expense management in the day-to-day running and operations of those services. So our platform, if you will, and the people and management behind that really allow our customers to get cost visibility, but also get control, and then start to implement, in certain instances, vendor consolidation and vendor rationalization. If you look at the linkage between that and MDM really provides customers with security and also visibility of the device. So if you think of TEMS providing visibility and control of the actual service itself, meaning what's being consumed, the minutes, the megabytes, etc., and mobile device management providing device-level security and also providing end users with access to applications, as well as providing the organizations with visibility as to what is on those devices. The two are very much interrelated, and Vodafone provides that as a service to many of our customers.
Great, thanks, John. So while we're on the subject of costs, certainly if people don't implement their BYOD strategies and device management strategies correctly, I imagine they're likely to find their costs may actually increase as opposed to prior to implementing BYOD. What are some of the hidden costs that people might expect to find if they don't do these things properly?
Yeah, it's a very interesting area, and there's some research that we did as part of the white paper we'll make available that talks about this. But Aberdeen Group actually did some research around this, and they found that an organization who was actually sourcing corporate liable devices versus BYOD, that they were able to get a 15% cost savings just in terms of the sourcing on the monthly tariff, or the monthly rate plan, as they would call it here in the States. And what was quite unique about it is they found that actually for them, for their organization, based on how they were able to source it, based on the devices their end users were utilizing, and all the other factors that you would look into, that they were actually able to get a better, more efficient, cost-effective program by keeping it corporate liable versus going with employee liable. So, I think that's an example where that company did the research, and Aberdeen Group published it. But I think when you start to look at the areas in which you need to investigate, and the hidden costs, support is one that very much comes up, in understanding who's going to support the device, who owns it, what happens when it breaks. Data security and compliance, there's very much hidden costs there, especially when you start to look at the information which is on the device. From a corporate perspective, you really want to make sure you have not only the visibility of what's on there and how users are how and what they're consuming, but you also have the control around it. And then the last part is about the actual tariffs and the rate plans themselves. And when you start to look at those, making sure that you're sourcing properly and you're doing it in a manner that provides your organization with the most cost-effective approach is really the last one is in terms of hidden costs. Because if you have 1,000 users or 10,000 users sourcing from 5 different vendors, that may not be the most economical approach in order to drive and optimize costs.
Thanks, John. So then looking at the flip side of that, have you seen or is there any insight that you can provide regarding tangible or measurable benefits to implementation of a proper BYOD strategy?
Yeah, certainly what we've found is organizations who have implemented either BYOD or, and I know that there were some questions and conversations around the different, flavors, if you will, of BYOD and whether it's, the employee bringing their own device and the corporation providing the connectivity or, stipends, et cetera. When you look at it, we have seen some success factors around employee productivity. We have seen where attracting and retaining top talent is very, very critically tied to bring your own device, because what we're finding is this next generation of workforce that's coming out have always grown up with choice, with access to multiple devices, multiple operating systems, and they're wanting to come into organizations and really have that same environment. So those are the soft, tangible benefits that we've seen from organizations. And then the other one that we've seen is we have seen in certain instances where customers and companies have been able to deploy this program as such that it makes not only their employees more productive, it gives them more flexibility because they have access to more information, but at the same time, they're actually able to lower their monthly costs by still keeping the connectivity on a corporate liable basis. And what that really allows them to do is it gives them the benefit of corporate sourcing for the connectivity, but then allows the end users to start to choose their own devices. So the employee wins because they get more choice. The company wins because they get a security policy that's compliant both from legal and HR, and in addition, they're getting the cost savings that they would normally expect to get from centralized sourcing.
John, thank you. John referenced a couple of times a couple of different white papers. I want to mention to everybody in our audience that I'm about to push out a link to you all on an IDC white paper on global attitudes towards BYOD and best practices specifically for multinational organizations, and this is one of the ones that John referenced, one of the ones sponsored by Vodafone. So I'm about to push that out to you. And while I do that, I want to jump over to JJ for a second to talk a little bit about the innovation workshops that you referenced. Can you talk a little bit about how the innovation workshops work and what might somebody need to do in order to make something like that successful?
Yeah, for sure. The innovation workshop is basically a conversation with the customer. What we do is we bring into the room a mix of people from the customer that have different priorities and different point of views of where the business is going and what are the key priorities. And that's exactly where the secret, where it works very well. It's not a technology conversation only, so we basically bring technology, typically CIO, CTO role. We bring marketing and business, so there are marketing directors, there are CMOs, or sometimes business unit directors in a conversation, and then we bring HR. And HR is critical into this because, again, they're managing the connection and the preferences of people and our employees is now a priority. It's not a nice to have, it's a must have. And finally, there is a function like strategy or even innovation into that company. They are part of the conversation. So we end up having, typically it's a half a day session. We use some of the different locations that we were showing for in the map. I'm quite flexible into that. And it's not about presenting products. We can do that in our kind of normal operations every day. This is a special day to think together. we bring into the table some of those examples of transformation that it's not that they are secret, but we kind of can explain where everything's come from and where this example, on the locations, where this machine-to-machine project across the whole world, where this big consumer goods company in India or across all Asia, we have, because of the scale of Vodafone, that big examples library and the knowledge behind. And then a conversation happens, and we realize there are opportunities that are there sitting and waiting to be realized. So that's basically a summary of the flow of how our innovation workshop works. Back to you.
JJ, thank you very much. Both of you, John and JJ. That does take us to the end of the time that we have for the Q&A. For our folks out in the audience, I know there's still some questions coming in. As I mentioned earlier, all of these have been archived, and the folks over at Vodafone will certainly take the time to answer you individually offline following today's event. Again, be on the lookout for some additional information, contact information, and info on the archived webinar and a follow-up email. And with that, I want to thank everybody at Vodafone. I want to thank JJ and John for spending some time with us this morning, and certainly a warm thank you to everybody in our audience for taking the time to join us today. Thank you, and have a wonderful afternoon.